And we really don't even need a garden tool for this because carrot seeds are pretty small, so we don't need a really deep. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all y'all are having a wonderful day. It is Wednesday, October 2nd here in South Georgia, and today we're going to be planting one of my favorite things to grow during the cooler months, carrots. So for the most part, carrots are really easy to grow, and homegrown carrots taste way better than grocery store carrots. The tricky part with carrots, especially for beginner gardeners, is getting the seeds to germinate. So two important things to remember here to get good carrot germination. So number one is soil temp. Ideally, we want the soil temp to be in the 70s for some really good carrot seed germination. If we plant our carrot seeds too early in the fall when it's still pretty hot around here, we won't get that great of a germination rate, so we have to wait a little bit. Now, I don't have a soil thermometer. Most gardeners probably don't have a soil thermometer, but if we just look at the temperatures throughout the day, we're only in the low 80s probably 4 or 5 hours during the day. I think it's supposed to get up to maybe 85 today, but it's not going to stay there long. Most of the day we're out of the 80s, so I think our soil temps are probably in the 70s and we're good to go. The second important thing is consistent soil moisture for at least 7 days after you plant your carrot seeds. They do take some patience. They don't sprout right up, say like a corn or a bean seed would, but we'll talk more about that towards the end of the video after we get our seeds planted. So we're going to pack this little 4x6 bed here full of carrot seeds today, but first we need to do a little bit of bed prep. Now, as I've showed you many times before, the two main things I like to add to my beds before planting is a balanced fertilizer. We'll be using the Coop Grow today, and then some mushroom compost to add some organic matter, retain nutrients, and also help these beds retain moisture a little bit better so they don't dry out as fast. Now, with this bed of mustard greens, we added the Coop Grow and mushroom compost a week or two before we planted, and that's a great idea if you can plan ahead and do that. But we didn't plan ahead with this particular carrot bed, so we're going to do it on the day of planting, which is fine too. So we'll start by adding our Coop Grow here. We're just going to sprinkle this over the entire bed. We are going to be planting these carrots in rows today, but we're going to pack these rows in here pretty tight, and that's why we're just going to sprinkle the fertilizer over the entire bed. And I'm going to take one whole bag of mushroom compost here and dump that over the bed. And that don't look like enough. Let me go get one more bag. There we go. 2 bags looks like more the appropriate amount here. So now we're just going to kind of spread this out a little bit and also mix it into the soil a little bit. And there we go. That looks pretty good there. So as I mentioned earlier, this mushroom compost is going to help this soil retain nutrients so it doesn't get flushed out as bad when we get a heavy rain. Also going to help it retain moisture, which is going to be important for that carrot seed germination. Now we just need to get our irrigation lines in place before we plant, and I'll go over this because we always get a lot of questions about our setup here. So under the ground, under all these beds, we have a network of this 1/2-inch tubing here that we put down before we set these beds in place. And then at each bed, that tubing runs up here to the top of the bed. We've got a valve here we can shut off each bed, and then we've got a T. So what we need to do first is cut us a little piece of this 1/2-inch tubing to run to that side of the bed and to that side of the bed. So we'll insert this right here onto that T, and then tighten it down there, and stretch it out a little bit, and I'll cut it not quite at the end of the bed because we've still got to put our end cap on there, so I'll cut it about right there. We'll install a little end cap here. Now that side is done. Go over here to this side, insert it onto that T, tighten it down, stretch it out, cut it about right there, and put another end cap on there. Now this tubing here will eventually straighten out as it sits in the sun, but it's a little snaky right now, so I'm going to use some staples just to kind of hold it in place. There we go. That looks pretty good right now. Now we just need to connect some drip lines to this tubing here. Now I have all these drip lines that I'm going to reuse today. Got 4 of them here. We probably use these 4 or 5 times in different beds. I just plug and play with them because most of these beds are the same length. So this is a 15 mil thick drip tape with a 6-inch emitter spacing. I really like this close emitter spacing on a lot of stuff, but particularly for carrots because we're going to be planting them so thick. And so today I think I'll do 4 double rows in this bed. So 2 double rows on this side of the valve and then 2 more over here. So maybe a row right there, a row right there, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So we'll use our punch here to connect our drip lines to this main line tubing, put some staples to hold it in place, and we'll be ready to go. And that's what it looks like when we're ready to plant. Not too bad for eyeballing it. Now, if you've been following the channel a while, you may recall last year we didn't plant our carrots in rows. We planted them in those round raised beds and just scattered seeds over the entire bed. But I found myself to be quite heavy-handed when doing it that way, and I planted them too thick. Now you do want to be somewhat heavy-handed when planting carrot seeds, but I was too heavy-handed just scattering seeds in that round bed. That's why I'm going back to rows this year. I know I can meter out my seeds a little bit better that way because that's the way I've done it most over the years. So we're going to be planting double rows today. Carrots do great planted on double rows. Great way to maximize space in your in-ground garden or in your raised beds. So each line of tape here will have a row of carrots on each side of it. And I've got 3 varieties we're going to be planting here today. 3 varieties I've grown many times. We do have seeds for all 3 of these on our website. So we've got the Miami carrot, which is a great hybrid orange carrot. Probably going to do Miami in both of these rows here, and then we'll do a rows of the Purple Haze, great purple carrot variety, and then a row of the Yellowstone, which is an awesome yellow carrot variety. So to plant these carrot seeds, we need to start out by making us some little furrows on each side of these tape lines here. And we really don't even need a garden tool for this because carrot seeds are pretty small, so we don't need a really deep planting furrow. So we can just scratch one out with our finger there, 1/2 inch deep or so, maybe a little bit deeper than that, but don't go too deep with these. That should be good. And then we'll do another one on this side of the tape right here. So we'll start out with our Miami carrots here, and unlike say a corn, a bean, or a pea seed, you don't want to plant these in a single file line here. You kind of want to scatter them in a band because you want them planted kind of thick. So we'll dump some seeds out here, and then we just want to grab a little pinch and just lightly sprinkle them in a band along that little furrow we created there. We want to plant them thick, but as I learned last year, there is such thing as planting them too thick. And just to give you an idea on my planting density here, I didn't quite use that entire pack of seeds for this 6-foot long double row here. I think there's 300 seeds in those packets, and I didn't use all of it, but used probably 3/4 of it. So we got them planted pretty thick there. Now we just need to lightly cover them up. So we're just going to fill back in these furrows here with our hand and kind of pack them down a little bit. And we're done. If those carrot seeds germinate and grow out like they should, we will have a ton of groceries from this little 4x6 bed. So now we just put our patient pants on and make sure we keep the soil in this bed nice and consistently moist for at least 7 days. The earliest I think I've ever seen carrot seeds germinate is about 6 or 7 days. Sometimes it takes 10 to 14 days. So if you have raised beds, containers, or even really well draining in-ground soil, you might want to consider watering those carrots twice a day. That bed is pretty moist because those bags of mushroom compost got wet during the hurricane, but I'm still going to turn on my irrigation system here in a minute. I usually run it every other day for all these other beds, and then I'll come out here during the heat of the day every day and give it a little splash just to keep a crust from forming on that soil there. Got to keep it nice and moist to get some really good consistent germination on those carrot seeds. And you will see some people that put a cover over their beds after they plant carrots. That's a good way to ensure the soil stays moist, because you've got a cover on it. I'm usually out here pretty frequently anyway, so I'll just give that bed a splash when I walk by it. And I should mention, the way we planted those today in that raised bed is the same way I used to do it on a much larger scale in our in-ground garden plots when we were growing carrots to sell. That double row technique with the drip tape in the middle works really great on carrots, whether you're doing a bunch of big rows or just a little raised bed like we did earlier. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. Let me know in the comments below if you've got your carrots planted yet. And if you want to know more about our irrigation system here, where we can just hook up the water hose and water all those raised beds at once, watch this video. We'll show you how we set it all up in the beginning. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.